Look at me. I am Ash now. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes I think to myself, what is a brain-dead way to play Warframe while doing a ton of damage? Well, why not make Excalibur go invisible? What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video, coming at you with a invisible / dash build, or should I say slash dash build. Anyway, with the cringe aside, let's take a look at what we're doing with this build. First of all, I'm using Excalibur with his /dash ability. /dash is a pseudo-exalted weapon. Yes, Excalibur is the only Warframe in the game to have both an exalted and a pseudo-exalted, meaning his exalted blade can be modded on the Warframe, while his /dash requires a stat stick. Now, for more information on stat sticks, please go check out the Gara and Korra video that will be magically appearing here thanks to the magic of editing, and there'll be a thing on the top right corner. You can click on it and that will take you to that video. Because imagine having to explain a stat stick every single time. With that aside, we can rush straight towards the actual build explanation and what he requires. But first, to understand this build, you have to understand how /dash works and why we're using these specific items to improve the damage of /dash. Okay, looking at /dash. As you know already, this is a pseudo-exalted melee weapon, meaning it scales off your strength, combo multiplier, and equipped melee mods. The ability itself has 0% crit chance and status chance, just like Gara. Casting this ability has you towards enemies and ping pong between them. Each hit will deal slash damage and force the bleed status effects. You will keep pinging back and forth between enemies until they're dead or you lose sight of them. If you press jump or dodge, you can cancel this /dash animation. And during the /dash animation, your health is immune to damage, but not your shields. So if you come out of /dash and your shields are broken, well, you're vulnerable. That's why I've devised this secret technique, so you can always have some sort of survivability. This particular build is quite similar to the one I released in my Excalibur video. If you have not seen that, do go check those out. It has some additional Excalibur builds just for you. But in this particular one, I decided to change a few things, especially when it comes to the Helminth ability and the stat stick. So, starting off with our stat stick, I am using the Magistar Incarnate for this particular version of this build. Now, if you have the ceramic dagger, that's just fine. You can use that if you want to have that beautiful, consistent red crits, which I know you want to, so go ahead and do that. However, if you want more damage, this is the one you want to use, the Magistar Incarnate, not Sancti Magistar or anything like that, the regular Magistar, because it offers you a larger bonus on the final evolution. That final evolution being Critical Parallel. This offers you 60% flat crit chance. Remember what I said about flat values? Yes, this is a flat value applied to your /dash. And it gives you a 1x critical multiplier, which is also added to your /dash. Now you have a nice base of 2x critical multiplier and a 16x crit chance, which will then scale off any other modded values, which are going to be found on the stat stick build. And the great thing about this is that there's currently a feature that we're going to be using, and that is with the Operator Arcane. You do not need to use this feature, but it offers you more damage. And of course, we love more damage. That feature in question is Magus Aggress. I did demonstrate this arcane in my Korra video, so use this until it is no longer a feature. This states on Warframe melee transference, meaning you go into your operator or drifter, use your melee to transference back in to your Warframe. That grants you a 400% crit damage buff, and this crit damage buff will remain there until you hit enemies 4 times. After you hit enemies 4 times, it goes on a 20-second cooldown. However, reading the fine details, this not only applies to heavy blades, but it also applies to hammers. And when you use this with a pseudo-exalted weapon, since it counts as an ability and not an actual weapon strike, this buff remains indefinitely. So again, enjoy the feature. The build will still work without this feature just fine. This is just an added bonus. And this is the only reason why the Magistar will out DPS the Ceramic Dagger. Without this particular arcane, the Ceramic Dagger is definitely better because you're hitting into the red crit territory if you use the same build that I was using in my Excalibur video. And now let's take a look at the other damage multipliers that apply to slash dash. First of all, combo multiplier. Reaching max combo gives you a 3.75 times final damage multiplier, which is huge. Not only that, we're also increasing our strength, so each hit will give us bonus damage. But we can take that to the next level, thanks to his third ability, Radial Javelin. This has an augment called Furious Javelin. Hitting enemies with this ability will give you a melee damage multiplier per enemy hit. This damage multiplier is a final damage multiplier, meaning it is Eclipse for your melees, without any lighting requirements or issues. So the more strength you have and the more enemies that you hit with this weapon, it gives you a bigger bonus. And for my Helminth ability, I decided to go with Roar this time around. Roar is a universal damage multiplier and functions like a faction damage multipliers. Pseudo-exalted melee weapons are not affected by any faction damage mods, so this will be our faction damage multiplier. Not only is it a faction damage multiplier, it is also a damage multiplier, so you're multiplying every source of damage. And since we're modding with a lot of strength, this gets boosted to the next level. I'm here in the Simulacrum with my Huros Kubro. He has the mod called Stalk. If we are in 24-meter range of enemies, we get turned invisible. So, approaching the enemies, we're invisible. This is a great source of survivability. Grouping in enemies, thanks to Magus Anomaly, to use our third ability. Now we have an 837 damage multiplier. Using our Roar gives us another damage multiplier. And now every hit deals additional damage, and the more we build up combo, our damage starts to increase. I can also apply Magus Aggress. So, go into your Operator Drifter, melee transference in, and boom, you have the buff on the top right corner. I do 2 Void Slings to give me the Sling Strength buff for Madarai, use my third ability, use Roar, and then go to town on enemies. Now here's the thing with Stalk, you do not want to use your weapons to attack, just your abilities. Slash dash is an ability, that's why we stay cloaked. If you use your weapons, let's say a gun, even if you have a silencer mod, you will be decloaked. For example, we are invisible, press button, decloaked. So avoid using your weapons. This is just an ability DPS build. Now, I'm sure some of you are wondering, why the regular Excalibur and not Umbra? I didn't put in all this time just to use the regular Excalibur. Unfortunately, what I have to tell you might hurt your feelings. But who cares about your feelings? This is the truth. Regular Excalibur and Excalibur Prime are 10 times better than Umbra, just because of his passive. Umbra will remove Furious Javelin because he's stupid. Not only that, he will also deactivate Helminth abilities because he's stupid. Not only that, he will also deactivate invisibility because he's stupid. So Umbra is anti-synergistic with this loadout. If you have Excalibur Prime, you lucked out. You have the best Excalibur in the game, and the rest of us are stuck with regular Excalibur and Umbra. And if you want more details and information on how Umbra cucks everything that you do, you can go check out the Excalibur video that I released. Okay, now that you understand how this build works, let's take a look at how I've modded it. But first, our Archon Shards. Since this is the same Excalibur that I used for my other builds, I have 4 red Archon Shards that give me strength. However, if you want to focus on this particular build, I would highly suggest using crit damage shards. Okay, taking a look at the Excalibur build. In the aura, I have combat discipline. Why would you use this? Well, pretty simple. Killing enemies damages my health, and when I damage my health, I'm able to trigger certain arcanes. And the arcane in question is Arcane Avenger. This is a flat critical chance increase that is applied after my built-up crit chance. So with this particular loadout, we're getting consistent oranges with a slight chance of reds. Strength at 239% thanks to my 4 red strength shards, alongside Transient Fortitude and Umbral Intensify. With these two together, you'll have 199% strength. Prime Flow and Equilibrium. Regular Excalibur has a lower energy pool, so he needs this. And Equilibrium is going to be our energy income and also our healing, because it converts energy pickups into health and health pickups into energy. Primed Continuity to counteract the negative duration from Transient Fortitude and to give me a decent amount of duration on Furious Javelin, which is 20 seconds, and a 38 seconds on Roar. Furious Javelin for the final melee damage multiplier. And finally, Gladiator Resolve. This is not only there for health, but to increase my crit chance. So Gladiator Resolve and another Gladiator mod on my stat stick will give me 220% crit chance when you build up to max combo, which is just another Sacrificial Steel. And the final arcane is Arcane Fury for that juicy, raw 180% melee damage when we crit, and we're always critting. Moving on to the stat stick build. This is the regular Magistar, not any other Magistar. The first evolutions are just up to you, doesn't really matter. The main thing you want is Critical Parallel for that crit damage and crit chance. The build, very simple. We have our base damage, crit chance, and crit damage with some crit damage and raw elemental damage. Reminder, your slash dash has 0% status chance. It only force procs bleeds. So for those thinking, oh, what about virulence? No, you're not proccing any viral, you're dealing raw damage. All the crit chance here will give me a 9.8 times crit chance increase. Times that by the base 16% gives you 156.8% crit chance. And then you add a 45% increase to that 156. And we get 201%, which is consistent oranges with 1% chance to hit a red crit, but that's still a lot of damage. Moving on to our companion build, which is the Huras Kubro. This build is similar to the one I used with Gara. The only thing I changed was remove the shields for synth deconstruct. But the main thing that you want here is stock for that invisibility. If there are no enemies around, you don't get invisibility. Secondly, we have Tandem Bond. The Kubro will go out and hit enemies. So this is a passive increase without doing anything. So this is going to be very useful, especially when you have that slight downtime when you're grouping in enemies for your Furious Javelin. And then we have Tenacious Bond here. This gives me a 1.2 times final crit damage increase, which is another layer of a damage multiplier. This applies to everything. Now, some of you are asking, how am I maintaining this buff? All you need to do is have your crit chance over 50%. And that's easily done by having Hunter Synergy. Pair this up with a high crit chance weapon, and it gives you some crit chance on your Kubro. And that high crit chance weapon is a Dread. And since this weapon has a lot of crit chance, you can easily maintain Tenacious Bond. However, listen up carefully. The main thing that you want to have on your primary and secondary are the Dexterity Arcanes, because the passive gives you a 7.5 seconds combo duration, which is also applied to your slash dash. So having two of these, very, very good. And finally, the Focus School, which is going to be Matarai, just for that juicy sling strength and power transfer. Alright folks, that has been it for me. I do have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please
feel free to leave a like and share and subscribe. Come on, do it. Listen to me. You've got to listen to me. Press the subscribe, and also don't forget to go to the Twitch because he streams. This Connect Me a Frame guy. And as always, be cool and peace.